just thought these lashes were really adorable. I mean, look at them. They have bows on them. How can you get cuter than that?
When I was younger, I didn't really want a sweet 16. I wanted a quinceañera. I'm not Latina, so that obviously didn't happen. Growing up in Texas, I have been in love with Mexican culture for my entire life, and that has made me feel more connected to Mexican traditions rather than those that are more prevalent in the more northern states. So what exactly is a quinceañera?
Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day today. So, if you haven't been able to tell already, we're going to be covering quinceañeras today. Now, I'm not Latina, and I don't pretend to be, but I do love Mexican culture and all their traditions, and so that makes me want to learn more about them. And then, with wanting to learn more about them, it makes me want to educate more people who are not part of those communities what their culture and their traditions are. So, what exactly is a quinceañera? A quinceañera is a coming-of-age rite of passage that many Latinos go through. Quince means 15, años is age, and quinceañera is she who is 15. So a quinceañera is a party celebrating this girl who just turned 15 years old. It's more closely related to a wedding rather than a birthday party, just given all of the lavishness and all the expensive traditions and whatnot that go into it. It symbolizes the transition of moving into womanhood from childhood.
Veronica Minna of the Catholic Company asked certain parents why the quinceañera was so important. Their response was, because it is tradition, and it means that our daughter is no longer a little girl, but a young woman. So we should show our thanksgiving for her life. This is also the way that she is introduced into society.
So a quinceañera is actually the girl who's turning 15, and the party itself is called Fiesta de Quince Años. However, it's more commonly just referred to as a quinceañera in general. So the tradition comes from Aztec and Mayan roots. When the girls were getting closer to 15, which was the age of adulthood, they were taken away from the boys and they were taught what it was like to be a woman in Aztec society. This mostly included cooking, cleaning, and childbearing practices. So once the training was complete, they had a ceremony which symbolized her coming into society as a woman. It was this lavish event that brought the whole community together to celebrate her. So not only did their ceremony recognize that they were now women, but it also was symbolic to them now being able to get married. They were expected to get married pretty soon after their quinceañera. If they were 16 or 17 and still hadn't been married yet, they had the option of either becoming a priestess or staying at home and taking care of her parents. Which now, if you're 16 and not married, then that's pretty standard. So the Spaniards came over and they conquered in the 1520s, and so they took the indigenous practices and they combined them with their European Catholic traditions, and that's what's basically started the modern quinceañera. Given their European high-class society mindset, this is the more debutante ball type practice that came out of it. And during Spanish colonial times, the girls were actually auctioned off to potential suitors after their quinces. So prior to the 1960s in Mexico, the quinceañeras were more of a tradition for the wealthier. When more people started coming over to the U.S. and they were assimilating into the culture, quinceañera started spreading throughout the Latino communities, and it didn't matter what socioeconomic class you were. And so this started spreading back over Latin America and even in the Caribbean. So in 2007, business owners and nonprofit organizations actually started sponsoring an annual citywide quince, which allowed the girls from the poorer families to experience what it would be like to have a quince from the families who were more wealthy. So obviously, in modern times, being expected to get married at 15 is just ridiculous. However, they still follow the same traditions in keeping it alive and symbolizing it to be womanhood. It's celebrated now as becoming responsible for her own life and introducing her into dating and even learning more about her Catholic religion and her Mexican culture. Quinceañera is both a religious and social tradition, and it places heavy emphasis on family. So her quinceañera starts with a very specialized mass just for her. So the quince girl walks down the aisle with her father, and she's followed by 14 couples that represent her previous 14 years. So during this mass, she reaffirms her devotion to God, and as well as she has the priest bless her and renew her baptismal vows. A bouquet of flowers is left at the altar or at the statue of the Virgin Mary. The quince girl is also gifted a kneeling pillow that she can use at the altar. Oftentimes it's personalized with her name written on it and everything. Ideally, the Mass should be scheduled 6 months in advance, and some churches even charge for it. So, the Mass is followed by a reception or a party in which is attended by friends and family, and it's basically introducing the quince girl into adult society. In more rural areas, this could be as simple as just setting some table and chairs up in an outdoor area, but the more wealthy people spend a bunch of money on these big banquet halls and all these lavish decorations. The quince girl often arrives to her party in a limo with her court of honor. So her court of honor is made up of 14 damas and 15 chamberlain. The damas represent the past 14 years of her life, and they're kind of similar to like bridesmaids. Her chamberlain are teenage male friends, classmates, relatives, and they all get to dance with her. Now traditionally they do like a waltz type dance. However, it's more common now to see more modern genres going in there as well. The first dance is between the quince girl and her father. After that, it goes to her and her head chamberlain, who's often like her boyfriend. And then after that, she ends up dancing with all her other chamberlain. The most notable part of a quinceañera is going to be her dress, which represents femininity. So the dress is traditionally a floor-length ball gown, which is either white or light pink. However, more people now are able to choose whatever color they want their dress to be, and there seems to be an expanding trend of Tiffany blue dresses. The dress is often made of satin with lace overlays and rhinestones. So while the reception is filled with traditional Mexican dishes and a very lavish cake, usually a tres leches, as well as a DJ or a live mariachi band, there are several traditions that take place during this time as well. She's also given various gifts. The first gift is a tiara that denotates her as a princess in front of God and the entire world. It symbolizes that she has triumphed over childhood and is now ready to face the world as an adult. Traditionally, she'll wear a headpiece to her ceremony that's kind of like a ribbon. The crowning is performed by her parents or her godparents, and basically they just take the ribbon off of her head and replace it with the tiara. So along with tiara, she's given a scepter, which is symbolic for responsibility and being able to take charge of her own life, and it's also letting go of her childhood. So she's given a cross, which represents faith, and faith is going to be in herself, God, and in the world. She's also given a Bible or prayer book and a rosary, and this is because these are important to keep the Word of God close to her. The party is usually the gift from her parents, given how expensive it is. However, sometimes they are able to give her a regalo sorpresa, or a surprise gift. There's also a tradition called La Última Munca. There's also a tradition called La Última Munca, or the last doll, where she has this doll that she gives to either her younger sister or just a small girl at her party, and it symbolizes that she no longer needs to play with dolls because she is now an adult, and it's her giving away this last bit of her childhood. Her father participates in what is the changing of shoes. So she comes to her party wearing like flats or sneakers, and during this part of the ceremony, her father removes her flat shoes and replaces them with these very elegant heels. And this is also symbolic to her transitioning into womanhood. Traditionally, this is also the first time that the girls wear makeup. However, that's not really followed, at least in the United States. She also receives her primer ramo de flores, which is her first bouquet of flowers as a woman. And this is given to her at Mass, and it's the same color as her dress. There are often 15 candy-filled piñatas, which symbolize each year of her life. There are also 3 roses that are presented to her. They represent her infancy, her childhood, and her current age. Toasts are also given by the family members to impart wisdom on the quince girl. The party is more of like a gift to the guests rather than the quince girl herself, and that's because there are guest favors that are given out. Everyone is given a decorated champagne flute, which is to be used during the toast to honor the quince girl's future joy. They're also given little tokens or ceramicas, which are often engraved with her name and the date as a remembrance token. So it's not uncommon that a quince is going to cost more than a wedding. They're often called mini bocas or miniature weddings. Quinces generally run tens of thousands of dollars, and luckily for the parents, godparents are kind of obligated most of the time to pick up the bill for this. Like a low-end quince in the United States is going to cost about $3,000. Given the high expense of the ceremony, there have been reports of a lot of girls being either offered, you can either have a quinceañera or you can have a car. So that's just a basic overview of quinceañeras. If I missed anything or misrepresented anything, please let me know. I would love to be able to correct anything that I got wrong. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, let me know down below if you guys would prefer to see more cultural videos like this one, or if you would prefer paleo-anthropological videos like Turkana Boy and the Neanderthals video I made, or would you guys like if I made like humanitarian crisis videos? Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.